There's intent behind every attack. By him, too.
What's up, everyone? Kane here, Captain of the Day's Pirates. Thank you for tuning in for episode 2 of Unlocking Haki, our kind of RP Luffy gameplay review and coaching type of series that we have here. Submissions for this are submitted on our Discord, so there'll be a link for that below. Today, I think I'm coming at you with 3 games from Fancy Munchlax, 2 against Shanks, 1 against Blackbeard. Then I think Felipe gave me 4 games. It was 2 against Reiju, 1 against I want to say I know the 4th one's against Yellow Luffy. The 3rd one I think is against Robin, and then the last one is actually submitted by a Robin player, Nico, in our Discord as well. That was a purple yellow Robin versus RP Luffy. So. Gonna somewhat jump over into that, but yeah, if you want to submit some gameplay for me to go over, definitely join the Discord and put it down below in that channel. And I am actually going to look into some of the other kind of bigger events and treasure cups and case tournaments that have been live streamed. I'm going to maybe reach out to Eggman or kind of talk to some of those people about using some of those games for maybe a standalone episode as well. Obviously, I'll link back to all of them. And I think with it being my own commentary, I can kind of do it either way, but don't want to have any, issues with that. So we'll be kind of looking into that in the next couple days. But we're going to pivot over into the gameplay. Game 1 here, we did say, is going to be running into a Shanks. This Shanks did elect to go first, and we did elect to keep, or they elected to go second, sorry. And we did elect to keep our opening hand, which is pretty good with a Nami, Mr. 2, and a Eustace Captain Kid to play through at turn 4. So here, usually pretty easy to just go all in on the leader and go in. Every once in a great while, you can make the case to, like, if you swing in 6, they'll probably still take it, or they might, and if they don't and they use leader effect, then you can put 3 on your Nami and get another card or a life out that way. But in general, just kind of exchanging these hits back and forth is fine. With playing the Bon Clay here, it does give you the extra Don onto the attack, so that is nice. However, the somewhat risk, I don't think it really is a risk in current Shanks lists, but some of them were running Jet Pistol, and that trigger could be punishing to that extent. But otherwise, you just gotta think about like the Red Hawk counter event coming up. I'm hoping this quality just kind of smooth out just a little bit. I tried to do a take on 720 and it kind of got locked up, so I'm hoping it kind of ups its own quality here. Now straight up to 9. In pretty good shape to use a Eustace Captain Kid. The debate here is kind of whether or not you want to attack first or how you want to attack first. I agree completely with this decisioning for the Bon Clay. If you swing in with the leader or don't use that Bon Clay immediately, they will 100% block it or block this leader attack and KO your Bon Clay. Whereas they might or probably still will block it, most likely, or when they do block, they will end up KOing the Bon Clay either way, but at least you got the value out of it in the meantime. So in this case, they did just use their leader effect and get a 1K, and they still are going to end up removing it later, but now they're in a pretty strong position here that they have the Eustace Captain Kid and a 7K leader, and actually they didn't block it, so they're just going to swing into Bon Clay then. So holding on to that lucky roost for later, but I still agree playing around it is correct. I hope this music isn't coming through too loud. I'll double check that after. Hopefully the next video I'll be able to get it back up to 720. I hope this little bit of fuzziness isn't the end of the world for you guys. I think most of it's still pretty easy to see. I'm gonna use a Rayleigh to kind of nerf the kid, which isn't, great for us, but isn't the worst either. Jamming out a Roger here is very aggressive, but you having the kid and leaving up a Gum Gum Giant with 2 life, very strong position, very comfortable position to jam this out. They obviously still have the ability to block with it for now, which they probably will. But if not, when they take you down to 0, you have that pressure. They play a Shanks of their own, or they play a Shanks. I agree with 2K out of this. They're probably just going to send the 12 into it, but that's still fine, I think. If you don't counter out of this, that 12 goes into your face, most definitely, I would think. Yeah. So in this case, you could have just saved a life or saved that giant by using a 2K instead. Running out of gas here a little bit is not what we want to see. Something like a queen and a Nami seems pretty good to me. I would probably queen first, I think. I guess if you Nami'd, you could have gone for the going into the Shanks here. I don't know if I would even bother with this attack at this point. It just gives them too much counter efficiency, right? I would pressure life with both of these attacks. Relatively speaking, I guess if they use a 2 and a 1 to counter out of your leader a swing, and then you go into like the 2 cards out of hand in this exact situation was relatively the same, if you notice there, because they took that 7K swing to life. Had you swung that into life first, they counter out of that, and then you swing 12 into life, or 13, 12 into life because of the Shanks. They probably still end up losing a life and those same cards out of hand, I guess. But I probably would have pressured life just a little bit more there, I think. Another Rayleigh clearing the queen is not the best, but the fact that it takes 8 of their Don is kind of nice if you think about it. Yeah, 1K is good. A giant to keep the life up. By taking the 12, yep. Why zoom in here? What happened? So in chat or something? No, chat's muted. So we went 12 in because of the Rayleigh buff. Oh, 3 2Ks and a 1K. That's pretty tough. Is that what we're zoomed in on? And the 6K hit. Yeah, I didn't do this, right? This is the video. Okay. I think this is now a law. What happens with the zoom in here? There we are. Oh, the sound G gets played and does get there. Okay. Kind of threw me off with the zoom in there. Yeah, because he did have the Sanji in hand. So being able to just put the Don onto the Roger, swing, and kind of get all those 2Ks out was very, very good. Excellent. So on to our next chance. Jumping in with the other 2 submissions from Munchlax. another Shanks game. In this case, they did elect to go first, and they did elect to mulligan their hand, mulligan into a pretty solid, second hand. Being able to kind of go straight for what they're looking to do. Turn to Zorajuro. I still think this is a matchup where I want to do some more thought and analysis around whether or not just going second is better. Just on nature of denying like their optimal curve, which is usually like Rayleigh into Shanks. However, our going first curve is just so good that I don't think we care all that much. But it just might be one of those matchups, kind of like Blackbeard, where it might be worth denying their curve. Playing through the Yasop, which I'd love to see. And then they do play out the 6-cost Shanks. Or 6-cost Ace, rather. 5-cost 6k Ace. That Ace is harder to remove. Isn't it? I thought it was by combat too. Is it only by effects? Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, that's a good exchange. That's where Yasop's Don X1 effect can be very effective. Oh, and even got to rest it off of the Sanji too. I almost kind of missed that. Very great tempo play actually. Great board dominance off of that. I love that Sanji card. I feel like that's being slept on by a lot of people. Rayleigh, popping a 6k, that's fine. 5k in. I like protecting that. I would probably consider going Kid and putting some Don on my characters there. Like, send like Kid. Leader would be 6k. Leader's going straight for the Roger. I kind of like the offensive posturing. I would probably consider going straight for a Kid and then just using a little bit more Don on that turn. However, great board pressure from where they're at now. Did just take that life aggressively. Newgate. Oh. 14. Playing around the like radical beams, I guess. I probably would have just done 13 and left the giant open. To be fair, the giant probably isn't being pressured this turn, or he's looking to just take the life either way. But in that case, I may have considered just leaving the one open to have the flexibility to use giant, you know? He is playing through some Rayleighs. Trying to protect that last life while that Roger is being threatened. And you're not all that concerned about taking that one, especially when you're still kind of looking at a Roger, right? Sharp 13, I like. 12, that's good. Sometimes Shanks does just brick up, which, yeah, we open one for a giant, just in case. Otherwise, make him dump more or less his entire hand, or a good portion of it. For the giant counter out, I like that on the 8k back. Limits realistically how much he can do back to him. Come on. See here, Bufford, don't mess with me like this. The straight up giant to get out of that's good. Then 2 9s, gets out of that, and GG. Yeah, very well thought there. And then we are going to jump directly into Blackbeard. So 1 second. He did choose to go first, and then did elect to mulligan. Didn't get the Zoro Juro, but not the end of the world, realistically. Oh, missed on the search. That's interesting. Because they're usually, especially after missing a search, aren't going to be using their leader effect quite this early. I do like protecting that life just a little bit more early, just like they did. On this matchup, never mind. He swung into Luffy. That's fine. I'll say if you're going into life, you definitely don't want to play the Bond Clay first. Black Hole is Black Holeing, but just going straight into a 10k is pretty good. Interesting thought about potentially going Yasop and Mr. 2, but with a Doc Q on board, I just think that's a bit more risky. Taking that doesn't feel the best, that's for sure. Last KO the Doc Q, this is no funny business. Double Mr. 2s. I like that play a lot. Yeah, that's two 12Ks. You can't turn off both. That's really strong. And he didn't turn off anybody? You're in Teach effect. Interesting. Oh, so I go on the 12s into the... I don't know if I would have gone for this one. I was just thinking about trying to win the game. A blocker, a 10 Kuzan? That's interesting. That's crazy, actually. And now... Yeah, just win, right? Just turns off his effects. And easy peasy. So, yeah. Great couple games there. The 10 Kuzan's a little bit interesting, and I guess the 12K blocker would have been a problem had they passed. I would have gone pretty aggressively at face, and maybe even tried to go for a Roger that previous turn. Actually, I guess real quick, let's just rewind it back just because. I mean, he probably had 2Ks, right? He probably counted out one of them. If he let the 6K go, 11 go. I would have started with 6, see what he did with that. Eventually, he would have blocked though, and it would have been before. 1, 2, 3. Actually, if he blocked one of the 10s or 12s, he blocked the 10. If he just goes 6, if he has 2Ks, he can get out. Roger could be interesting there. Alright, I will jump over into the Reiju submissions. Alright, against Reiju here, the Reiju player did elect to go second, and it looks like we did keep our first hand. Searched up a 9-cost Luffy to top off our curve. That's one of those things, like, people say, like, oh, you'll never search 9-cost Luffy. This was, like, you have a little bit counter, you have your ramp, you have another Nami. Why in the world would you not grab something to top off your curve and is an amazing dynamic threat? They draw the card. It's sometimes. But just using the Yasop to counter because you know you're going to ramp with your Bond Clay. It's completely okay. Visitors hold the EKG. Maybe they don't have the big EKG, or maybe they're just trying to preserve their Don efficiency and card draw with leader effects. Burma stage to look for, it's not the worst idea. They get the, I think that's the big one. I don't remember which number is which. Oh, try the small one. The hand shuffle Yamato is very interesting. I actually had that in my very first RP Luffy list. Interesting thought here, actually. I think, yeah, Beckman hits an EKG. I see that, I see that. The alternative to that would have been just going for like a new gate, which I think based on what they've shown so far, kind of removing the EKG is probably decent. They do get a decent amount of pressure out of all these 6K swings though, don't they? Newgate on this turn may have been just better, in kind of holding that Beckman for counter or for something else later. Because man, this onslaught of sixes from them does just kind of rip your hand apart. Except their Newgate there, they can only really pressure like 2 swings, and you have an additional 1K in hand. So I think I would have Newgated on that turn. I know Valio gave me a couple of these games saying that they think they did make some mistakes and kind of wonder if I agree with their assessments. Those 2 sevens into 5s is really good pressure back on board. I do love that. And now being able to Newgate, it's just only having 3 cards in hand. If they want to be aggressive, they can be pretty dang aggressive here. Sanji does give a lot of reach and pressure too. Oh man, those Reijus are just refilling their hand though. Another Porsche. How much down are they down to? Like 4? If they play a Black Maria off this Porsche, they're kind of popping off, honestly. Oh, just another EKG. And they got another EKG. That's a brutal swinging, kinda. Think you gotta let that happen, though. Yeah. And you can go 7. At this juncture, I think I agree with the card draw Luffy. The pressure that you get from it, as well as just being able to cycle, I think is a little more valuable than just 1 more K on leader this turn with how small the hand is. I would even plan on leaving all my Don open probably. 10 to 7's decent. This is one of those junctures with this deck where I don't want to say you get baited into playing defensively, but sometimes just giving them like counter efficiency will just allow them to grind this out. So like I think it's a little risky, for sure. It's a lot risky for sure. But I would be pretty tempted to go 6, 10, 10 into face and leave 2 down open, looking for kind of giant prayer mode, honestly. If their plan is to go 10 into Reiju or into EKG twice, oh, never mind. I guess that was just good effective. I like that then if they don't counter out. I would probably just go 6 into life. You can go 7 just to get some more pressure. You get another card out of hand. I don't hate that. With another brick is tough. I just like to play for the double giant prayer if you need it this turn. Will be interesting to see how this Reiju player kind of pressures back though. Yeah, that's just kind of tough. If you did hit a giant or something, you could pull off a miracle, but not quite that one. So I do think the pressure is I think this is probably the same thought that Felipe already had, but that turn where Beckman was used, playing a new gate out straight there, and then pressuring either a little bit more aggressively or being able to back it up with a kid at that point, may have just been a little bit better, kind of to pressure out. Obviously, they had a lot of resources, and when an aggro swarm deck does kind of roll out that way, we really depend on that new gate chain to really connect through. So I think I do have another Reiju game coming up next, though. All right, game two against Reiju. Looks like they ran back the rematch. And this time we did elect to go first and did elect to keep our first hand as well. Nami, Zorojuro, and a curve. Basically everything we're looking for. This is another matchup where having that Yasop in the mid game is just very effective, very chef's kiss along the way because they can be pressuring you with 7K swings that early, right? Um, so that's just another one of those things where I do think just Yasop being a flexible mid-game threat over potential ramp piece is just better. As opposed to running kind of that 9th and 10th ramp spell, I just run a couple Yasops in that spot. And I think a lot of people have been finding great success with that. Here, they did elect to go for the more aggressive swings. I don't mind that posture with the fact that they played through a Reiju. If they were playing out like Porsche into EKG or something, it might be more worthwhile to play out that Yasop. But here I definitely like the aggressive curve, keeps some more counter in your hand, and then get to play through that new gate at the top of your curve, which is, what we want to be doing. And of course, they do drop an EKG, so he could have been a little bit nice there, but not the end of the world at all, being able to go directly into our new gate. Oh, not new gate. Okay. Select the rush down. Sanji's going to be able to tap down blockers if they play that way. I don't mind the aggressive angle at all. With no 2Ks in hand and EKG on board, it's a little, and another EKG comes down. Not having any 2Ks, but you do have a big hand size, so they're not very likely to punish you that hard. Get a 1K there, 1K here. It's just that now that both these 7Ks are a little inconvenient when you don't have the 2Ks in hand for them. Yeah. Still no 2Ks. See, I would have just gone 10 face there. I would have gone 10 face and negated and kind of made them think about a giant and what cards I might have in hand. Having the Newgate last turn again would have just saved a lot of hand size would have been nice. And then going into this next turn, you can still pressure into board, or you're swinging 10 with your Newgate and presenting a new rush threat or a blocker. Either way, you have a lot of flexibility, but I just think the way that Newgate preserves your hand in this aggressive kind of matchup is very relevant. Sorry, I had to kind of mute my mic to cough there. 7 in. Cycling out. Probably just drop the Newgate at this point and yeah, keep the rush. And you do have the one open for potential giant. Not a horrible state here, just the fact that we haven't seen any 2Ks. I mean, now we have one, but the limited 2Ks has been a little bit unfortunate. But the way that they're pressuring, we should be in decent shape. So I'd be tempted to take that one as well. They do play out a queen. With a Sanji, should be pretty healthy lethal here. Yep. Sanji, rest, get up. Probably start with a 7. Yeah. 7, 7, 9, 10, I think is basically guaranteed. 2 cards, 2 cards. Yeah. Either way, I think we're basically guaranteed at this point. And then 2 more, and then yeah, that's an 8. And oh, that last one was a 2K that could have been out. I think though, if we go back 1 second, we'll kind of note this here. From this game state, right? So we have our rush character. I paused it. 7 in. They do counter out of this, kind of like I say, by doing 2 and 1 out. Because hypothetically, they could have gotten out of that last swing just because we were slightly inefficient. Then if we go here, a couple different ways it could be done. You could just swing the Sanji as 7 in. Then that requires another 2 cards out of their hand. If they use those 2 cards, then you put 3 on your queen, and your queen gets to swing in for 9. They have 1 card left in their hand. There's a 0% chance for them to counter out of that. And then you have a Luffy swing when they have 2 cards in hand, and there's 0% chance for them to counter out of that. Because we did go for the 11, it did make it to where, hypothetically, if they had 1 more 2K there, they would have gotten out of it. They didn't, so it doesn't really matter. But there was a way to just secure 100% lethal here, and making sure you close on those opportunities can make a really big difference. But awesome stuff. And I think the next one we're going to go into is Robin, if I believe so. If I have it correct. Thanks. All right, we got purple, yellow, Robin. We did elect to go first, which I do agree with is correct. We definitely want to take first from Robin. And Pudding, they kind of have a similarly aggressive, guaranteed ramp curve, so we do want to deny that to the best of our ability. Early Shirahoshi is kind of annoying for us. Top deck Zoro is kind of good for us, so that's nice. 9 and probably just kind of have to let that happen. Yeah, not the worst. 1 on for that. Okay, block that. I guess not worth noting, so I do want to keep that muted there. Oh, now let me get my music started again. My bad. Kind of jump back into this. With this, I do think that, um, I mean, they blocked there, so again, didn't matter in this scenario. But playing out the Bonclay before you'll swing in is very risky into yellow decks, right? Those triggers. And even more so when you have a Nami. Would have been a great opportunity to swing in 7, play out the Bonclay, then play out the Nami and get kind of cycled through and pick up like a Giant or a 2K. In this case, not punished at all and still able to develop that Bonclay, so A-okay there. But just kind of an extra note that it may have been worth it to have cycled through that Nami. 12K in, it kind of is what it is. At this point, might be worth developing a Queen just to kind of ward that off. Another just big swing. Considering pressuring in, yeah, play in an aggressive angle. Oh, see, then that's kind of a trigger, like I mentioned, that would happen. I mean, there was nothing for you to capitalize on with the Enclave yet, because they hadn't played anything out yet. But their hand size is still pretty low. Being able to cycle through again. With no Giant, I probably would play out one of these Namis, even though you get to bluff the Giant this way. I would probably just try and cycle through one of the Namis at this point. Now a Newgate is decent. Yeah, still having the blocker. Man, if that blocker got sniped by a trigger, that would have been really unfortunate. Having the Newgate though is nice. Might be able to pressure lethal next turn depending on what they play through. Yeah, Nami, 9 in, got a 2K for that. Yep, important to use the Sanji first in case there is a blocker to deal with. They probably have a Giant now at this point. Is something to consider. In this case, I would probably start with, okay, 13. Very aggressive push. I can't complain against it too much. Honestly, it's another 7. It's another 13. It might be worth just going for it. Maybe it's bait that they let it go in the first place. what I was originally saying, my line of play or consideration would have been like, I would have gone maybe, let's see here. I would have gone like 11 with the new gate. See what they did with that. Um, it looks like they may have taken it either way. And then I probably would have gone Eustace Captain Kidd, swing 7 with my leader. And then I would have probably cycled through one Nami. And if I got a giant, which they didn't in this case, I would have grabbed the Sanji. And then I would have played the second Nami. Actually, it looks like they played both Namis and didn't get giant either way, so it is what it is. But that's what my thought process would have been. But I would have been 7K leader, and I guess with a couple more 2Ks, and not all that much better off, I guess. They have the extra body, take a little bit less out of them. Yeah, it looks like they had the 2Ks, so you would have been all in would have not been the best there. So that is where I would have probably given a pretty hard consideration to developing the kid, and not hitting any giants there is pretty unfortunate, right? Like had we hit any giants, but okay, hang on, hold it. Kind of tough with the Nico Via. 3 cards though. Actually, giant doesn't guarantee lethal. But again, another kind of like 12-13 or 12-14. I guess if you're worried about giant, 13's probably best. No giant. It'd cycle through some cards. Another 13. Not quite. Nice. Good win. Good stuff. On to our last one. I did realize I said my last one, but this is actually the second to last one overall. It's the last one from Felipe. The last one will be from the POV of a Robin against RP Luffy. This game is against Black Yellow Luffy, the same pilot as was playing the Purple Yellow Robin last game, but they switched over to Luffy, and they did elect to go second, and then we did elect to mulligan into a pretty strong hand here. So this is always an interesting kind of decision or conversation point, is to what point are we attacking? I agree with not attacking on this first turn. It gives them less opportunities to remove Zoro in different ways. Now on this turn, with the new gate coming, I would probably swing a 5K in there, just to, get the life chewed through. Maybe not even really necessary, to be fair. But I don't fully starve them, like leave them at 4 like this usually. I guess with the list being on Raigo now, there's even more of a case to do that. You denied them a Gecko here by doing that, so that's pretty good, even though they draw a different card with the Luffy. You definitely want to make them use their enablers, but I'm also very much looking for opportunities to pressure their life before they get that awakening effect. So I like this here. This is excellent. I think leaving the life up to this point has been good. There might not even really be a point to swing here either, because it gives them Shirahoshi value when you don't really need to give them that. They do chew down 1 more life. Okay, a little aggressive, don't mind that. I'd probably just take it. You can counter out, but I like those 2Ks and 1Ks quite a bit. So I think this attack I'd probably just take. Oh yeah, I can't really blame him for cycling out. Yeah, I would keep the Beckman and the Sanji as well. Okay, Shirahoshi is a blocker that can be, can be kind of denied with the new gate effect, but I like this for straight developing an additional body and pressuring that body into Luffy is very strong. So now they've Hiyori'd, so now they're kind of fully awakened or able to do their effects. I'm gonna assume they set up another kid. Yup, go up to 9K, swing a 9. Would be great if we had a 2K. But you can take this, and then you can Gum Gum Giant out of this. I didn't see what card they. Oh, they haven't trashed yet. This was a relatively interesting decision. Yeah, so the new gate's probably fine if you want to hang on to the Gear 5. Beckman being able to immediately trash one of those is good. Let me think here actually. I can go 11-11 if you want. 11. I guess. I'm just trying to think through if I like that Beckman is really necessary or like the Sanji resting the Sabo and then swinging 8K into the Luffy twice and the 10K into life twice would have been pretty good. You tracking what I'm saying here? Instead of the Beckman, if we were to play a Sanji out and rest that Sabo, which even though crashing it is pretty good, you would be able to develop the extra body, and you could go 1 down on the Sanji, 8K into there, 1K on, or it would have to be 2 on your leader, right? It's 8. So kind of neutralizes out. Okay. Yeah, no, Beckman's fine, and then you get to hold the Sanji for later. I mean, if it gets you the extra swing into the Luffy, then I think it's worth it, but I think we want to leave a Don open. I guess in that scenario, you could still leave 1 Gum Gum Giant open. I was thinking you could leave 2 open, but you could leave 1 open by 1 on Sanji, 2 on Luffy, because Sanji -1 gives you that 11th Don, right? So technically you could have got 1 more swing in, and still leave the Giant open. But either way, it's still fine. Great board position overall. They're getting low on hand size and having to stretch their resources. Now in this case, they probably would have swung into the Sanji, had you played the other one. Actually could have done the same thing again this turn, which would have been pretty funny, just back-to-back Sanjis. There's also a consideration here, depending on what they do with the new gate swings, you could flash a Gear 5 here, you know? They probably have 2Ks, right? You kind of have to assume, or want to assume. But if this first or second new gate swing require the blocker, oh, we're gonna have a little timeout. Let me go back. 10 in, 10 in. Okay, so they do have a 2Ks. So probably don't want to go for the Gear 5. Oh. Yeah, I probably would. Maybe, I think maybe. When they get the blocker there, they still have Giant up. I suppose. I think just playing through like another Sanji there probably would have been a little bit safer. I think so. I think you did kind of mention that you're pretty sure what went wrong, but yeah, I think playing through this, but probably back-to-back Sanjis realistically would have been very effective in pressuring out the Luffy and their hand, and just kind of string things out for 1 more turn, and then probably Gear 5 after that. But overall, they did kind of hit everything that they want to see from their perspective. But I think the Sanji's threatening through here would have been pretty dang good. I guess it's lethal here, isn't it? Yeah. GG. A little bit of a tough loss. They decided 2 more 2Ks too, so they were cycling through and really doing the the Black Yellow Luffy thing. But yeah, playing through those Sanjis, pressuring just a little bit more and being a little bit more patient on that Gear 5, I think probably would have done worked wonders there. So good stuff overall though, and I appreciate all the submissions, of course. Alrighty, excellent. Our last game here, like we said, is going to be from the point of view of a Robin, so kind of the flip perspective. So I'll be obviously kind of giving the perspective of an RP Luffy player and how I would kind of play into RP Luffy. The early 8K with the banish and the leader effect is great. It's tempting to go for that Bonnie, but the fact that the Bonnie gives no pressure on this turn or doesn't allow you to pressure and leader effect this turn. Let me slow down for 1 second. Robin. She is a banish leader that when she attacks, you trash a trigger card from your hand to ramp it down. So on that turn 2, I really like this Jewelry Bonnie card because it's a great kind of hand selection tool as you're pressuring. But it's not as good into RP Luffy on curve because you are not able to, you'd have to swing 5k into Luffy at that point and offer no pressure. And in this matchup, you want to pressure that hand and that life. So I definitely agree with not playing the Jewelry Bonnie on that turn. They do jet Gatling out of that, but that's fine. Just denying some cards. Keep one back in, take that life, and then play a 6-cost Nico Robin to just take one of their life, and then trashes a Kikunojo to use another leader effect. I think that's fine. I think I would have maybe trashed this Bonnie instead of the Kikunojo, and played that Kikunojo in the next turn or two, or maybe like held it to trash to Linlin if not. But Kikunojo is a pretty good threat into RP Luffy, stretching out the game a little bit. So I know it's a little bit of an aggro matchup, but that Kikunojo threat is, I think, probably a little bit more helpful than I know Bonnie's a 1K, but you have, a couple other counter in hand. I guess Saul is a brick, so there's that to consider. But yeah, so I guess the fact that you would have gotten a brick there is not the best. So yeah, and now my quality's jinking up just a little bit. If that loads just slowly, I'm gonna just reset and run it back. But if not, we're gonna play through it here, guys. Pulling a little bit more counter probably isn't the worst idea. But I would have considered getting rid of the Bonnie instead of the Kikunojo. Especially when you have effects like Linlin and the Nami that allow you to trash effects later. Just pretty effective overall. So they played through a Queen. 9 in with Banish is pretty tough. Radical Beam is good though. Ooh, and then just trashing that immediately is good. So the Bondi ends up going anyways, so I guess we're kind of on a similar page as maybe you would have trashed the Kikunojo this turn instead of the Bond, just kind of based on what you want to keep. I think Saul, though, relatively speaking, with Sanji's, with Usohachi, Saul is at a relatively low premium for you as well to some extent. So I would also consider getting rid of Saul potentially before Kikunojo from like an aggressive angle. But yeah, it's kind of not the biggest deal overall. Okay, Banish is just nice pressure. And straight 6K is nice. 2K. Are we putting? No, Sanji can't be put in life. It's only 6 or less. So I don't think I would want to put Sanji in life anyways. But yeah. So yeah, now Saul still being in hand is no counter. But I guess relatively speaking, he can offer some defensive options. It's just between Usohachi's and Sanji's and things like that. I guess to trigger one out is pretty nice. Can't argue with that at all. Oh, big swing. 14 into, yep, that probably just hits. I like this board domination. I think this is a pretty smart play. Then pressure in with the banish again. See how many counter they have. Ooh, that's pretty nice. Second blocker is great. Yeah, that swing into Sanji I think is very effective. Board control there. I like that. Now there's even some level of like thought to taking a life just so you can get more Yamato value. I don't know if you necessarily do that. Oh, yeah, of course they swing into. I would block that. Yeah, that makes sense. Then 8 into life. Probably take that, right? You can use the trigger to do what? To play a thing. If you wanted to like play out Professor Clover, you could, but I don't think that's worth. Counter, nice, okay. So we probably are gonna Yamato next turn, I think. I don't think we can guarantee lethal with Giant being Flash, but we might just want to make the aggressive play, or maybe they're gonna swing into board again aggressively. I was thinking Yamato was looking pretty nice. Okay. Not a Gum Gum Giant, it was a Gum Gum Jet Gatling. Now it's a 10. Well, now it could be a Giant Radical Beam. Okay. This guy's on a lot of events. Second blocker. Okay, I see it. I see the vision. I was thinking life gain, the second threat. I guess the second blockers are pretty dang good too. Harder for them to pressure through. Queen is good. Do we have any immediate ways that we could top deck like a Nami or something to deal with that? Okay, well, Hachi comes down to touch down a blocker. This feels weird to me from the opponent. Why develop a blocker if you're then gonna like try and play aggressively? Maybe they think they have to. That just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Oh, second saw out of life is brutal. Probably block, yeah. Great shape. Gotta block that one. No more swings. They have a blocker. Probably no way to go lethal here. A 7k leader. Okay, we're right here. That's my grind. I think it's hard to say because if you develop the Yamato last turn, you gain the life, and then the Brule, like they rest your only thing. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say where that pressure goes at that point. But having the second 9k body may have been the difference in living or not here. Oh, Brule lethal. That's amazing. I'm so glad this is the one you sent to me. You didn't need the 9k, you got the big brain. All right, quick cut to a wrap up, guys. Thank you for the submissions. Again, I'm going to look into maybe covering some of the larger tournaments or webcam tournaments and see if going over that gameplay is acceptable to kind of the organizers there. But also, if you'd like to see some more games of your own or to see other submissions, do check out our Discord. We have a growing community playing a variety of decks. Obviously, I'm spamming about RP Luffy all the time. I might spend some time on some other purple Straw Hat decks if you guys want to see some of that as well. Please do subscribe. We're still pushing for 500 and then 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. And keep pushing along here with, we have another Trail to Laughtail video coming out soon, and then a Doflamingo guide being put together as well. So lots of great RP Luffy content coming at y'all, and thanks for checking things out.